Okay, so we have a burning question that I've heard a few times through our email responses, and it's something that I think makes a lot of sense to wonder about. So that question is, while we're at home or while we're in the absence of, our select kettlebells, dumbbells, barbells, weight training equipment, can we maintain strength or even build strength? Okay, so the short answer is yes. While we're at home or while we're in the absence of this equipment, we can build strength. So I think what it would make sense for is to determine what strength is and kind of what happens in the body from a kind of a higher approach, higher lens. So strength essentially is your force times acceleration equals strength. Okay, so what there also is there's many types of strength. I know when we're commonly thinking of strength, we kind of keep it narrow-minded in like we're picturing that person in the gym lifting, X amount of weight and they're able to do it for 2 reps and they slam it and it's like, holy shit, that's strong. And I would agree that is strength, but there's also other types of strength. So we're going to keep this general and talk about strength as kind of the whole spectrum. So the short answer is yes, we can build or maintain strength and or muscle so that we don't sit at home, work out, and just see our gains drop and see, increased body fat, looking thinner, looking weaker. We don't want that, and that's not how it needs to go. So how can we do this? Again, let's understand what's going on with strength in our body. So there's some physiological stuff that happens with strength while we're working on it. There are adaptations like cross-sectional muscle fibers, which means the myosin filaments actually get larger. If you're interested in that, that's what happens. There's also some brain stuff that happens. So when we're talking about the brain, we're responding with the neuro component. So there's neuromuscular efficiency. Neuro means brain, muscle means muscle. I bet you got that. So neuromuscular efficiency means as we practice a movement, the more efficient we are at the movement, So if we have good technique and we practice that, then you're going to get better at the movement. What also happens is there are some other neural adaptations. So the brain gets used to the movement and your body gets used to the loads, right? So if you're used to deadlifting 100 pounds and that's heavy, again, over time, there are things like muscle density that happen that make that load easier. There are the brain things like I talked about, and then there's some actual physiological stuff happening to the muscles. So that's what's going on with your body. Now, how can we do this if we have no equipment? We can do isometrics. So this is a type of exercise or even a style of training. Let's make sure this camera's still working. Sweet. So isometrics basically means static or stable. So a classic example is a plank. That's the example I always use. We get into our plank. Our goal is to hold that position for whatever is prescribed, and that's isometric. We're not moving, ideally. So this is a way that we can build strength, because what's important to know is that your body doesn't know weight. So if you're lifting 35 pounds, it's not as if your body knows it. Your body knows tension and your muscles know tension. So with isometrics, there's not necessarily that additional weight you're using. You can do that with weights, but we're talking about no weights. So isometrics could mean a plank. It could mean the bottom of a squat and you're holding tension and trying to fire as many muscles as you can. It could mean the bottom of a push-up position. It could mean any range of motion where you're holding it. That's an isometric. So you'll notice that we actually have quite a few examples of isometric movements in the programs that are available for you guys, which is awesome, and this is why. So other than isometrics, which we can get really creative with, and you're going to get lots of examples, we're looking at strength from a wide spectrum, not just what's called maximal strength, which is you lifting as much weight as you can. There's other ways you can be strong, and I bet you know this, but how do we get stronger without focusing on maximal strength? So what we would want to do is break down a movement. So we're going to use an air squat as an example, which is just a body weight squat. And if you don't have the access to one-on-one coaching with one of our coaches, then again, you're going to use some of these tools and do the best you can at assessing. But again, we're always here to try to help you with that stuff. So you would take an air squat and you would do some reps and determine where your weakness is. So if it's a common issue is hip and glute, hip flexor weakness, so kind of this part of the body here, if that was a weakness, you're only as strong as your weakest link. So if your hips are the weakest point, then you need to work on developing more muscle in those areas, which is going to help things like muscle tolerance. And if you're choosing the right exercises, it will actually carry over to better squats. So again, that's not isometrics. Those are examples of some body weight movements. Picture a glute bridge, which most of us would know to do. A glute bridge is going to help train the glutes to make them stronger, plus the core. And if glutes are a big weakness, or hips are a big weakness at the top of your squat, then that could be one exercise that's going to be helpful for you. And it's something you can do at home. So recap, can we maintain or build strength at home? Absolutely we can. We just need to be creative and more disciplined. The style of training we can do is isometrics. That's kind of like a default. And the other way, if you want to get a little bit more analytical about it, which is always good, know where your the breakdowns are in your movements, and then train those exercises or train those smaller muscle groups. So I hope this helps, guys. Reach out if you have any questions, and we'll be sure to help you. See you next time.